Within the field of personnel selection, examinations of technology-enabled hiring practices have received recent attention. One practice that is of interest to researchers and practitioners is job applicant social media profiles used to inform hiring decisions, like cyber vetting. Several studies have suggested that cyber vetters are somewhat able to assess profile owner personality, but more recent work has demonstrated cross-method disagreement, stating that cyber vetting-based assessments and traditional-based assessments, like cognitive ability tests and interviews, do not converge. There has been limited research that focuses on the judgment and the decision-making processes involved in cyber vetting evaluations. As cyber vetting is often conducted as a screen-out method, this study focused on how cyber vetters form impressions of job applicant ethicality and what content is influential in these assessments. The research question stated is what social media content is vital in forming impressions of job applicant ethicality. And moving on to the method, 367 cyber vetters evaluated 1 of 15 authentic social media profiles like Facebook. After evaluating the profile, cyber vetters were instructed to assess job applicant ethicality on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being not at all ethical to 5 being extremely ethical. After providing the rating, cyber vetters were instructed to reevaluate the profile, but this time to identify by clicking content that was important in their ethicality rating. For each piece of content identified, cyber vetters provided a rating of perceived valence from 1 to 5, 1 being very negative to 5 being very positive. Now on to the results. Table 1 provides descriptive statistics regarding the prevalence of each type of content across all profiles. The percent of content containing each type of variable was based on 913 pieces of content across all 15 profiles. The average perceived valence was based on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being very negative to 5 being very positive. A series of independent sample t-tests were conducted to determine whether the content contained each variable was identified significantly more times than content that did not contain each variable. Another independent sample t-test was conducted to determine if the average valence rating for each variable was identified as being significantly different from the content that did not contain the variables. Results indicated that content containing references to drugs, religion, politics, and profanity were identified significantly more times than content that did not contain this information. Now on to the discussion. Taken together, a key takeaway is that very few references to content such as drugs, politics, religion, and profanity heavily affect cyber vetter judgment and decision-making. Something interesting to note is that only a limited amount of overall social media content contained negative information. For example, only 0.44% of overall content across 15 unique social media profiles contained references to drugs. However, this small amount of content was more important than content that did not contain negative content. Another example is only 1.31% of overall profile content contained references to politics. However, that content that contained this information was identified as necessary in higher ratings of ethicality than content without references to politics. This is interesting because previous research has not demonstrated that negative social media content is related to job performance behaviors. In other words, it is possible that negative social media content could affect hiring decisions, such as job applicants with negative social media content may be perceived as less ethical compared to applicants without negative content, and this may affect the likelihood of receiving a job offer. This is problematic because there is no current evidence indicating that how one behaves on social media is related to how one behaves on the job. More research is needed to understand whether social media behavior, particularly negative behavior and content, is related to job performance. Some questions that could be posed is what are other types of social media content perceived negatively by cyber vetters? Is there any social media content that may predict counterproductive workplace behaviors? And is there content that may have the opposite effect, like certain content that may be perceived positively, which could bias cyber vetter perceptions? Thank you.